Thank you for your interest in learning about this ecological affront by the government of Guanajuato against farmers, ejido members, and small landowners in the southeastern state. This project wants to know the point of view of AI regarding the construction of the Solís-León Aqueduct. Let us begin this journey. For the cover, we wanted an image that contained significant elements, such as farmers, agricultural fields, and the Solís Dam, as well as protest banners. We obtained this image and a description of the relevant points using HuggingFace.co with the model Quen 3.5-9b. Look at the details AI gives us. However, there were several details in the image. One of them was the name of the dam, Solís, and the other was that banners should use the logo used in civil resistance events. Unfortunately, the response was not as expected, owing to technical constraints in several AI sites such as Mistral, Cohere, and Meta. With all those large language models, LLMs, we used the same image, but the response varied depending on the software used, and no one gave us the expected image. We decided to use the image of the protest that has been disseminated in various media because it reflects the oppositional character of the community, not only rural but also urban, with our resistance logo and the Mexican flag leading the march. We went back to HuggingFace and asked, "What can you tell us about the attached image?" using the Quen 3.5-9b model. Until a few weeks ago, such a question would only lead to ramblings. But now that the model has been trained with true information about the Solís Aqueduct, its answer is clear, and the same happened in other large language models. How did we do that? Applies for Gemini, Mega, Mistral, and Cohere? We asked the large language model to review the summary of the environmental impact project of the Solís Aqueduct that we attached and certify that it is an official document, as well as give us their opinion on the content. The file attached is in Spanish. We share the translation. It was supposed to be a great document. But, in dialogue with the large language model, we replied, but on the conclusion page the document mentions Rio Ameca, and that river is in the state of Jalisco, not in the state of Guanajuato. These errors do not allow the document to be reliable. And this is what the large language models replied. We show only Gemini's response. Gemini's response said that the document has several mistakes such as geographical inconsistency, copy-paste errors, and technical discrepancies such as radial wells versus floating intake structures at the dam. The AI begins to tear apart the document and increasingly finds more flaws. It refers to copy-paste as a reminiscence of the failed El Zapatillo Dam. It also states that with such errors, dependencies in the matter, like Semernet, should simply reject it. We replied to Gemini about the inconsistency of the document. It answered, "You are right, there is no active surveillance program with local families, and the track rights have not been respected because families have been affected and have received no payment for such damages from the construction of the aqueduct." Here are the respective documents we send to AI platforms for analysis and the links to download them if you consider it feasible. If so, you will find more flaws in the full text. Astonishingly true. According to Mexican environmental protection laws, a project is not valid if there is no surveillance monitoring program. Therefore, this project does not comply with the law, as there is no legal mechanism that provides certainty to the community regarding risks of environmental degradation. In short, reviewing the executive summary, 4 major flaws are found that, of course, are also found in the full document: illegal occupation of particular areas, absence of a community surveillance program, which administratively invalidates the project, technical infeasibility because it refers to a space that does not correspond to reality, Rio Ameca instead of Presa Solís, and the absence of payment for damages. All of this makes this project an unacceptable proposal, both technically and socially. According to the AI platforms, the above details are sufficient for such a project to be invalid in a space where the law is respected and the permission for the construction of the Solís aqueduct should be totally denied. Unfortunately, the project received all permits and considerations at both the federal and state levels. Well, it's Mexico and Guanajuato. Nothing to add. These documents are, in legaloid jargon, Frankenstein documents. The governor of Guanajuato states that there are a few who oppose and that they have been invited to be part of a supervisory board and some other considerations that had to be addressed before starting excavations. We shared the link from the interview and then expressed the views of various AI platforms on such a monologue. The government of Guanajuato is using the invisibilization strategy, seeking to delegitimize the conflict in order to prevent it from escalating to the federal level. However, the content of the video and recent news show that resistance is strategic and diverse. They are not just peasants, there are academics, hydrology experts, and human rights advocates. Also, the document's original sin, the Ameca River's mistake. This error is the ultimate test of resistance. For the inhabitants of Acambaro and the area of the Solís Dam, that the document mentions a river in Jalisco, Rio Ameca, confirms their greatest fear, that the project was made from a desk without knowing the territory. How can families be confident that there will be no environmental damage if the consultant doesn't even know which river they are standing on? The video reinforces what we already knew: there are families affected. The official summary that we analyzed states textually that the aqueduct will be housed in the right-of-way of existing roads, but in reality houses are cracked or land is invaded without payment. The document is lying. In environmental law, this is called vice of origin. If the trace is shown to affect undeclared private property, any federal judge should stop the work immediately. Is the governor's argument fair? From a human rights perspective, it is not fair for 3 reasons. 1. Precautionary principle: a project with basic geographical errors, Ameca River, is being pursued without an actual social surveillance program. 2. Distributive justice: the resources extracted from a historically agricultural area, the South, to fuel industrial growth, Leon Celaya, without the benefit returning to the communities of origin. 3. Right to information. By saying that they are few, the door is closed to real dialogue, forcing communities to resort to amnesty and social protest, as seen in the video. Is it clear or not? The Guanajuato governor is lying. The Solís Aqueduct project seems to be supported by an administrative fiction. 1. A document with copy-paste errors from other states. 2. A political narrative that minimizes those affected. 3. An execution that ignores damage to private property. In conclusion, the resistance shown by this link is not from a few but from a sector of the population that has detected that the technical project is deficient and the social process is non-existent. Without a surveillance program and without payment to those affected, the document we initially reviewed is nothing more than paper with no ethical or technical validity.